Good morning, Service Lines community. How y'all doing today? Brother Doug.
17 years ago when you started these podcasts, did you realize what you were doing when you did that first time?
Not a clue. It just happened.
Other than that, how do you start a podcast?
I mean,
I
really.
actually don't think I've ever paid attention to a podcast and how it begins, but
I don't know.
you know,
There's a lot of people that do it different ways, but that's how I started it. And
it's catchy because now when I go into the office and I see people for the first time, I'm like, good. Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on a second. What's up, buddy?
hey, good morning, Jeremy. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you back.
Guy's busy, man. He's doing appliance service and sales. Guy's machine is growing over there. He's got employees. It's all good, man. Way to go, Jeremy.
Always good. Well, we are talking about shifting from that firefighter mindset that so many of us in the industry have experienced, and maybe there is a temptation to fall back into it from time to time, even when you know better. And then switching to more of a architect mindset where we're intentional, we're building something, we're planning, and it's always happening. Doug, do you ever deal with firefighter mindset?
Yeah, I mean that's how I got as good as I am. I mean that's how I ran the business for the first 10 years. It was very reactive. I remember a CSR one time. There was like an angry customer or something, and it was like 3 that day, and I was like, "Oh man!" She goes, "Who are you kidding? You like it? You like it?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You like to put out fires. You like to." Make get people back on track. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not good. We have to fix this thing. And she's like, yeah, but you like it. And so I walked away going, she's not wrong about it. So I had to shift my mindset to getting excited about collaboration and other people being the eyes and the ears of the company and going, hey, I see a problem. Either I fixed it and this is what I did, or hey, I think we should fix it and I've got an idea for you. Now that's my new exciting, approach over the last few years.
Would you agree it's more exhausting in the firefighter mentality as a owner or manager?
Depends, man. It's like two different types of exhaustion. It's firefighting is saying go dig a 10-foot hole 10 by 10 by 10 and do it really quickly. That's exhausting. But being strategic and emotionally dealing with stuff that it's difficult, that you have to identify, and then come up with a solution. It's a different kind of exhausting, Zach.
Yeah. I think if we create that space as we're planning, it's a little less exhausting, right? I feel like, at least for me, when I would,
I just don't want anyone to think that life gets easy.
No, it's not. I'm not saying.
So here's the deal: the weekends, the nights, the Monday mornings, the chaos that all lands on your lap. If you have that in your business, if everything's coming to you and there's all kinds of problems and you're the one that can fix it, you're the only one that fixes it, you're the only one you trust to fix it, you are in firefighter mode, and it's exhausting for sure. But different approaches. It's work too, but it's not as crazy as that. So if you're doing all that, you better listen in today.
I feel like I slept better when I switched that mindset. Not
for sure.
I was still tired. I mean, it's still tiring when you're going through the emotions of planning and being strategic. But I feel like I was better rested once I made that switch, as opposed to coming home, crashing out in the chair, and that was the end of me for the night. My family got zero. There was nothing.
That's right.
Left.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
No, my dreams changed. I mean, now I wake up a little stressed out about some dream where we've opened up 5 locations throughout 5 different states, and that's just something we talk a little bit about, opening up new locations. But the dreams, man, they've got no boundaries. So, in my brain, I'm sitting there and we've got like, 10 locations or whatever. And then I wake up going, whoo, but it's different than, yeah, absolutely what you're talking about, which is the buck stops with you all the time. Boy, oh boy, that is really tiresome. And then it's disappointing to fail or
Oh,
to
sure.
that. And we'll get into this, but to think that you're better off than you really are, but you've not had time to check out where you're at because you're in the weeds, you're running the race. It's pretty discouraging to find out that, oh, it wasn't as good of a year as I thought it was going to be. Those are heartbreakers. Those will
Yeah,
tear you down for sure.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, pray us up and then we'll really get into this.
Lord God, we come to you this morning with our arms raised up high, exalting you and praising you and thanking you for everything that you give us. Lord God, we live in this world where you've given us free will and a desire to worship you and also to succeed. And so the pull of sin and the pull of you being our God can sometimes cause us to get in firefighter mode with our faiths. And so, Lord, I just pray that you help us with with our relationship with you, that it is healthy and holistic, and that we come to you with every decision. We come to you with our plan, and we ask you to be the God to oversee and watch it. Lord God, help us in our times of anxiety. Lord, we call on your Holy Spirit to whisper in our ear the magic words of peace and rest. And so, Lord God, we just pray that we are in that same frequency that you are in. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Why do so many people build their businesses like this intentionally? So do you mean in firefighter mode? Because if so, I honestly, from experience, um, it's lack of understanding. I quite literally bought a business from a firefighter, like he was a firefighter,
That's
uh,
funny.
right? But he was always in firefighter mode in the
Mm.
business. There was nothing intentional about what he did. If the books were heading into the red, he would not take a paycheck to bring the books into the black. It was always firefighter mode. And so I learned firefighter mode. I didn't learn how it took a long time to get to the point where I could plan intentionally because I didn't know there was another way. It
Mm.
was like that line in Batman, right? Like you stepped into the darkness, I was born in the darkness, right? Like that's what I came up in. I knew nothing but firefighter mode, right?
I don't think this is going to be a good week for me, Zach, because the ironies are just flying around in my head. Because a firefighter and a fire team, they aren't just reactive, they're incredibly planned and strategic and prepared for every scenario. But what is reactive is they don't know when they're going to be needed and
Yep.
called upon. But yeah, it's just kind of funny. But to Andrew's question, I think it's a lack of preparation, and it's a 50-foot problem where when you're running a business, you need to be at least at the 500-foot level. So in BNI, right, that's a great place to become network partners with other small businesses and other businesses. I saw on a Facebook page a wife posted about her plumber husband, and he's launching this business, and a great picture of him, great little ad on the local
Yep.
page. And I just said, hey, if you're interested in BNI, we're looking for a plumber. So I said, message me. And so I shared with them the commitment of once a week.
Mhm.
And the wife says, yeah, my husband said he has no time for that right now.
Yep.
And I was like, well, there you go. So I wasn't going to come back at them and go, hey, because they don't know me from anything. But to Andrew's point, the logical, irrational step is throw all yourself into everything that you see and just keep fixing stuff. That's what we're trying to avoid, right?
I feel like a lot of trades have that. that problem when we're recruiting for BNI. That's a common thing we get from the tradies, where other businesses, um, either they have more employees or they're more intentional about planning time around making sure that they can attend these meetings and network and do things to actually grow the business. They very intentionally plan it. And so um I think it's just a bad mindset that's been done within the trades. And I see it all the time in the roofing groups. I'm 57 years old. I can't keep getting on these roofs. Well, why the hell were you getting on the roofs that long anyway? Why weren't you building up people and training up people and creating a place where people could actually learn a skilled trade, right? Um, I haven't always done it right, but I keep seeing Kyle. I brought him into appliance repair and now he's in plumbing, and I gave him a step into the trade. I built him up, and then he was able to take that even further and accelerate his career. Um what why are we being so selfish with that? Like, why are we always holding on to that? Let's go back to Andrew's other comment. The vain position of being everything always and being the chief firefighter, it's such a lack mindset. Um, and
See, it's survival, man. It's the easiest thing to do is to do that,
I know,
right?
but
It's John Maxwell's law of the lid.
yeah,
If you go from being a technician, an employee, and you go, oh, I can do this. I see it. I know I can do it better. Well, you maybe can where you're working currently, but you will eventually max out your ability. And so you better keep on learning and spending time as an owner. Make a
yeah,
commitment.
and, I've switched roles within the company that I'm working for, and I am a subcontractor, so I have my own business. And so I've spent some time beginning to make a shift. I'm looking to hire a kid on next year to begin to train him up. And then I'd love to bring more guys on and train them up because I'm at my capacity. I don't have any more time to get the things done that we need to get done as far as repairs and stuff like that, right? So we shift from this firefighter mentality, the reactiveness, as Doug said, right? That alarm bell rings and off we go. It's the loudest client. It's the biggest deadline that's coming up closest, right? Um, Work is happening to you. It it goes off and you go. It goes off and you go, right? That's that mindset. It's focused on survival and scarcity. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. When's the next crisis coming? And you have this just exhaustion of from
Mm.
dreading that next crisis. Um, and I love this because I've been working on this with my trainer. It creates high cortisol, which is the stress hormone, right? And then you begin to have decision fatigue. Like you literally are just tired of making decisions because you have nothing left. And then it leaves you burnt out. And man, burnout is, I've been through
Yeah.
it twice and actually three times. It's not fun. Burnout is not fun. Um, so we want to begin to shift that mindset. So the architect is proactive. It's based on long-term planning, a blueprint, some core values. Things happen by you, right? You're creating them. It's very much focused on creation, abundance, and intentional design. So back to what I was saying, like this scarcity mindset, this lack mindset of I have to be everything to everyone all the time. That's scarcity. Abundance says, I want to bring people up alongside of me. I want to give them a place to work. I want to give them a chance to show their skills, to sharpen their skills. Uh, and you use your time to manage future risk, right? You begin to create process and procedure so that when things inevitably come, it's not so much a slap in the face as, all right, we knew that was coming. We're going to make this little shift here, right? It becomes better. I'd love to see in the comments how many of you are in which mindset, right? How many of you are in architect and how many of you are in firefighter mindset, which I'm curious where our audience is falling on that spectrum.
Yeah. There is no direction if you're in firefighter mode, for sure, right? We are just kind of a ship in the ocean, um, with no compass, and wherever the wind is taking us is where we're heading. That is a helplessness feeling that can be overwhelming as your budget begins to grow, as you begin to take on employees and commitments and vendors, and you start to spend money. It's pretty scary. Imagine that. It's pretty scary to think, like, I hope that this time frame, this year, will pay off for all the time and money that I put into it. If you're in that frame of mind where you're saying, I hope, that's a tough spot to be in. And so it's really important to track your stuff and know along the way. You know, scarcity mindset's interesting. It's I don't know. It's I think that's human nature for sure. So not to repeat myself, but to have those things being tracked on a regular basis will eliminate that a little bit for you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and so I guess the next piece of this, so right now we have a kind of balance from Andrew and Jeremy sharing that he is
No, Jeremy, I'm in a mastermind with Jeremy. If he's not putting out any fires when we're meeting on our weekly night, strategically planning and talking about goals. But hey, we're all going to be our own worst critics for sure, Jeremy. But I think you'd be surprised if you next ASTI or whatever convention you go to and you meet 5 new guys. You'll be really impressed, Jeremy, where you're at compared to other people, which is not something to give us great peace and like, yeah, I'm better than those dudes. But it's just helpful to be able to know where you stand and reflect on your progress, because it's really hard to do that sometimes when you're a one-man guy running your show. If you don't have other people in that leadership circle that you're asking, who are we? What are we all about? What are we trying to achieve? Where are we trying to go? That kind of conversation inward to yourself is really hard.
So there's 3 psychological barriers, and I'm curious how many of these you struggled with, Doug, when you were in the mode and kind of trying to shift to becoming the architect. So there's the fear of commitment and failure. These are blocks or barriers to switching mindset, right? So fear of commitment, failure, the trap of perfectionism, and future proofing versus future creating. Did you fall into any or all of those mindsets?
Sure. I mean, fear of failure is still there, Zach, to be honest with you. Even when you know your numbers and you're hitting your goals, you're still worried and afraid. But no, yeah, I, the fear of what you call it, forecasting. What was that? Planning ahead. What was that last
So
one?
it's future proofing versus future creating. Where it's a block, it's a defensive strategy. Like,
Uh-huh.
oh my God, how am I going to avoid a recession?
Right.
The world is on fire, and we got to make sure that there's money in the bank. Versus, like a more visionary
Yeah.
strategy. What
Yeah.
impact do I want to have in 5 years? How can we create a business that people want to be a part of, people want to use? So you're just kind of
You know where I want to get better at, Zach, which I'm noticing lately, is plan B. So if you have a plan, a strategic plan, and you're heading in a direction, I'm prepared to watch for the signs of when and if it's not working out,
Yeah.
but I don't have plan B roughed out yet,
Yeah.
usually. And I'm ready though. I'm ready to pivot and say, well, we're just going to have to pivot. So then that means that we're having potentially this period of time of nothingness happening, as we then begin to strategize. So I'm still a little responsive there.
Yeah, but so the mindset shift in that fear of commitment failure, right? You have a plan, a hypothesis, right?
Mhm.
If your plan
Yep.
doesn't work, you've gained the data for the next iteration.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
begin to pivot. And so where I think you have begun to step out of that, and maybe you're not entirely out of that, but where
Mhm.
you have begun to step out of that is you're gaining the data and you're willing to look at that data and go, well, that didn't work. So
Yeah.
how do
Yeah. Yeah.
we kind of make this change
Yeah.
here? Let's make this better. And that's a goal, is to be able to do that maybe a little bit sooner, but
Right.
I don't think it's ever going to be perfect, right? And we don't want to fall in that trap of perfectionism. So you begin to, like, once you've started to harvest the data to figure out
Yeah.
how to make these pivots, you're already well on your way in that mindset. Like,
Mm.
that's the biggest struggle, is beginning
Yeah.
to go, you know what? I need the data. So if something happens, we can then make a
Right.
plan and make a pivot. And I
Yeah.
think that's where you've begun to step into,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
great.
I think the real world scenario that helped me with that was hiring technicians.
Yeah.
Um, I don't like it. I don't enjoy the commitment of time
Mm,
of interviewing and then onboarding them and training them with the team. If they don't work out, it's an exhausting feeling to think we have to start all over again.
yep.
But when you get somebody and you train them up and they're on the road and there's promise, then I begin to start dreaming.
Yeah.
Okay, so that area is covered now. I mean, over the next year, this technician is going to be a rock star, going to be very steady. So now I start to build out, and then something happens. That person isn't cutting it. The red flags are starting to pop. They're not the right person. They're good, but they're not good enough. Then in the past, I would just sort of settle and go, well, I'll get around, not strategically, but I'll get around to hiring again and try to find a replacement for that technician. And it'll and because I'm not being very uh, committed to it, it could go on for 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, having people on your team that don't belong there. But it's this big hump that I've struggled to get over. But over this last year, or after the last 2 years, Zach, we're interviewing all the time. We're
Yeah.
just interviewing and looking for a great candidate. And so now that habit has been developed with some great software as well that does a lot of the work for me before I get to speak with the employee or the potential employee. So I needed some help there because I was overwhelmed by the details of some of the tasks of that process. So that's part of why we get stuck, and we're in firefighter mode. There's this thing that you suck at, that you just don't like doing, and you put it off, and then that completely blocks the road of progress. So find
That's
a way to overcome that.
that's the trap of perfectionism, right? It's procrastination
Oh
in
yeah, yeah,
disguise, right? Like, we're
yeah.
waiting for this perfect lightning strikes moment, which is never ever going to happen. Instead of, you know what? I'm 80% there. Just send it. You know what I
That's right.
mean? In some of the tech bro world, it's the minimum viable plan, right? And you get a plan most of the way there, and you just rock and roll. It's messy, um, but you're actually doing something. You're actually gaining some data. You're actually making some traction.
So
That's the trap that that got me all the time, and then I overcorrected and went the other way and was just like
That's a
pivoting
Zach move.
all the
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
absolutely. So
yeah.
let me ask you a question. Is this a glass half full or half empty mindset? Are you ready? Um, as long as I break even, if I break even on a bad idea, I'm okay with it. Is that a glass half empty or a glass half full type of mindset?
I mean, I would say it's half full. Um,
And let me just tie it to what you were just saying a couple minutes ago. Not being afraid of trying something, right?
yeah.
Being strategic and grow your business, try something new in your business. I have this sort of backup mindset, like, man, if it doesn't work out with these employees that I hired and the investment that I bought in whatever the software for this concept, if I break even, I've learned something,
Mhm.
and I know that it doesn't work.
Right.
But I'm not beating myself up. So you consider that a positive thing, even though it
Yeah.
seems like it's a
No, I think being willing to take some of the risks where it can become a glass half empty is if you didn't bother to collect any data along the
right,
way to be able to make that next pivot or that next transition. So if you're just like, you know what, if I break even, it's great, but you have no plan behind that if you break even, because remember the goal is to be profitable if we want
right,
to grow, if we want to expand, if we want to, whatever that looks like for you. Um and so if there's nothing behind that, then yeah, it's half empty. But if it's I'm going to try this, I'm going to see what happens, and then I'm going to review it and figure out what could have been better, how we could have
yeah,
changed it,
yeah,
or if this was
yeah,
even a worthwhile thing to do. If you don't take that reflection time, which is part of what we're going into next, but if you don't take that reflection time, then yeah, it's half empty. There was no
yeah,
point in pivoting or trying it because you didn't learn anything from it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't
The
gain
data, the
any.
data, and the takeaway, right? That's valuable stuff because it's you going through it, not just reading a book or following some business leader's approach and it doesn't work. When you come up with something, try it. The data that you get from it is pretty powerful. It makes you a better leader.
It does. It does. And so the last piece is we want to create this sustainable buffer mindset. We want to create this space where we can create plans, we can reflect on plans, we can build future plans, we can actually rest, right?
Mhm.
Um, everything is going to take longer and cost more than you expect
Mhm.
all the time, all the time. And so if you're intentionally building a buffer in, right, whether it's a time frame of 20 to 30% time or 20 to 30% built into a financial buffer, right? It it turns stress into capacity. It creates this space for you to breathe when it doesn't go the way that you think it went.
Right.
Um, but it also gives you this chance to reflect, to restore, to get that energy back, right? Um, so the myth that productive people are always busy is just that. It's a myth. Productive people make time for rest, for reflection, for learning, and it's a non-negotiable.
Mhm.
Um, and it also eliminates that guilt. You ever had that guilt like, I'm gonna take a day off. I don't know how that's gonna go. I really should be at work. But I need to take time off, but I should be at work. You have like this struggle. Um, you want to get rid of that because you need that time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. That might be my problem, Zach. I don't feel guilty about those things. I mean, I don't take a ton of them off, but if I feel like I need to shut it down, you shut it down. You need to, you need that. What I think you were talking earlier, the white, you have
The
to
white
take a break,
space.
the
Yeah.
white space.
Yeah.
It's very critical to it. And for someone who thinks they have to go faster and harder when the chaos is building, it's the same person that takes their fist and punches a brick wall out of
Right.
complete loss of control. Just they're not in a thinking space. So we do need to take breaks.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a problem, Doug. I think you've actually embraced this mindset quite
Mhm.
to the healthy end of the spectrum,
Mhm.
right? Like I don't take a ton of time off, but when I need it, I take it and I enjoy it. That
Mhm.
is a good thing. That is a healthy thing, right? It gives you that space. Have you ever come back from a vacation and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I want to do this thing now in the
Oh yeah,
company because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
while I was sitting on the beach and thinking, all of a sudden this came to me and here's what I think we can do."
Mhm.
We need that space to really let the creativity flow so that we
Yep,
can begin to plan and create and do these things.
yep.
So white space is very important. Um, the other thing that can be a trap, and I know I've kind of played into it because I always do the mastermind that's coming up at the end of the week, at the end of the year. Um, but planning shouldn't be an annual thing. It should be a continuing habit throughout the year. You should
Mhm.
always have some time allocated for planning throughout the year. Now, I think there is value in taking the data from the year at the end of the year and going, okay, cool. So we've kind of looked at all this and we've made some of these pivots. Now we're at the end of the year. Here's what I'd like to do going into next year. And you kind of lay that out for your entire team. Here's what we're looking at in the year ahead. I think there is value in the annual planning session, the annual creation session, but I think it's more valuable when you're doing that throughout the whole year so that you come into that session. It's very efficient. It's very ordered, and it makes making those steps in the next year just that much easier.
Well, there's got to be a structure to this whole thing, and they all tie right in there together, right? So your annual, um, the next 4 quarters is about tracking if you where you're at on your annual goal, right?
Right.
So you got it. You might as well just set it on the calendar. I mean, it's interesting, right? Like I think about maybe say so. I don't know Andrew's situation as well as I know Jeremy's, right? But Jeremy's, wife is kind of part on board there. As maybe not. I'm not sure the role co-owner or whatever, but who is in Jeremy's inner circle of the leadership team when you're growing your business. It might just be you and your employee, but to sit down and to talk it out um, with somebody else that's 100% invested
Yep.
and excited about what you're doing, and letting you just kind of talk it out and then reframing that to, well, so what's the takeaways? Where do we head to? 50% CFO, congratulations. So she's the boss. Oh, wait, I remember that from our last convention that we went to together, Jeremy. I forgot about that. So yeah, I mean, to sit down and to reflect with a structure, something, right? Traction, something, writing it down and looking at it.
Yeah, well, I've been saying that for a while, Andrew. So we love you, buddy. You'll get there. You'll get there. I should have hired 6 months ago, but I wasn't quite ready for that yet either. We
you
like
don't
to
you
say
don't
that.
want to fail. So there's a big commitment there, right? You got to make sure that
Yep.
you've got the work,
Yep.
you've got and you don't want to sit there and shift completely out of what you do, or I'm
Right.
saying you, but any of us, if we make money, if
Right.
we're going to hire someone, then we have to stop making money to invest it to someone so that so
Yep.
it's got to be really thought out well. Certainly don't just go off half cocked on this thing. Um, but you got to do it, man, or else another year will go by, and then
And
another
and
year and another year.
and that's where that planning habit, so the suggestion is to take 60 minutes once a week and review your annual plan, review your annual whatever, right? Um, your vision casting, whatever you did, right? So review that, see where you are on that spectrum of the plan, and then define just three things, right? Three things, no more than three things to set a quarterly plan.
Mm.
Okay, so in this quarter, I want to do these three things because then it's bite size, it's more manageable, it's achievable. And if you miss one of the three, it's okay, right? Because you've made some progress in that. But if you don't ever take the time, if you don't take that once a week to make that plan, um, then the quarterly plan never comes to pass. Then the annual
That's
plan
right.
never
That's
comes
right.
to pass,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
right?
And then the snowball. Once that snowball gets going,
Yeah.
it's so easy just to say screw it, right? How about this, Andrew? Have you ever like heard for a recording of you when you were a kid, or maybe you saw a video of you, like my kids, right? They're all teens and in their 20s. But when I see like a video of Chloe and her voice is all cute and tiny and just innocent, where she was and where she is now feels like a snap of the finger. Can you imagine, Andrew, if there was some way that there were tapes and video of you as a technician when you first started? Probably just a tiny little beard, right? Because it must take you 20 years to grow your beard. But like, I know that at the core, the things that God gifted us, our strengths, they were there even when we were in inexperienced tech. So, like for instance, Andrew, if you were a really confident guy and you were a real people person, you were probably really good back then too. But for sure, you are a much better version of yourself right now than you were 10 years ago and 20 years ago.
Yep.
And so to get over this worry of quality, you just have to understand you got to give someone a chance to be the next Andrew. You have to know that your customers will have the grace for you. You have to understand that the expectations from customers are actually pretty damn low, even though they whine a lot. They're not expecting the amazing world class service they get from you, Andrew. So you have the time to invest, and you're giving your chance to talk to your customers and say, hey, I'm so sorry. This bill is fairly new, and I'm sorry we failed, but here's how I'm going to make it right with you. That's a win. That's an opportunity for you. So you need to get your next Andrew on board, and he'll have a tiny little beard, but it'll grow over time.
I mean, could we imagine if Jay didn't take a risk on Needle Nose Doug and
Yeah. Well,
you
he's easy now. Easy now. Needle Nose was a chapter before action, but no, you're absolutely
but
right.
that's what
You're
I'm
absolutely right.
saying. You
Well,
you
how
came to
about this?
Jay. You
How
came to
about this? My
Jay.
last year on the road was like 2010, I think. And this is, remember the time. It's direct drives
Yep.
and GE motherboards and Whirlpool and Bracco relays.
The
Like I could
VMWs weren't
fill my
even out
winter
yet.
jacket. Yeah, I could fill my winter jacket with all the parts I needed if I looked at my pre-schedule.
Yep.
The job was a lot easier than it is now. And I did 10 to 14 calls a day, and I brought in $356,000 of revenue.
Right.
Jay had to say, if I want my business to grow, I'm going to have to take him off the road
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to lose $356,000 of revenue so that I can get to the next step in the
Yep.
business. Very big, fearful move on his part. He was worried. So now we hire a couple guys, experienced and inexperienced, and it felt good for a year or two that two guys made up a one Doug, right? So there's that to the needle nose idea. But today I have three techs that do that or better, and that's because the investment that Jay was willing to put in on that day, on that year.
So to Andrew's point here, I know he won't mind me sharing this, but look at TK, right? His partner Austin is very much a technical guy. Austin's never going to come off the road. He's a co-owner and he's never going to come off the road because
That's
that's
right.
his thing. That is
That's right.
Austin is an amazing technician. He blows my mind with what he does as far as understanding the troubleshooting and all that stuff, right? TK didn't want to come off the road, but he's found that since he came off the road, the business is actually succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
And so Andrew, maybe your solution is find a J, right? And you be the Austin to that and be on the road and train guys up and be a technical guy on the
Right.
road. That could be the answer. But
Sure.
but you'll never grow unless you find that other person to complement wherever you're weak, right? Doug and Jay, you're two very different people. Jay is very much a visionary. What if we try
Mhm.
this? What if we think about this? And Doug is very much a okay, let me figure out how to make that work. Let me figure out a strategy, a process, a plan to get this going. Not that you don't have visionary qualities, but Jay is very much head in
Yeah.
the clouds
Yeah.
creator, and Doug is very much all right. I'll figure out a way to make it happen. I'll put a plan together
That's
and
right.
make it happen. So there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that, Andrew.
Right.
I'm not saying you have to come off the road. I say that all the time. You need those people in your business. Well, if you are that person that's on the road, you are that person that's training technicians, that's fine. Find the person that can do the business side. Find the person that can help
Mhm.
to create the processes and the procedures. Find your Doug, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A great commercial is an excellent trainer training a technician in a home, and the customer is an eye and earshot.
Mhm,
To hear the why happening when they're doing it,
mhm,
hey, we always want to lay these mats out because the customer's home is the most important thing to us. We want to show them great respect. Customers over here working and go, oh, damn. So, Andrew, you could be on the road. You could be the guy building an army of technicians, but you just have to be willing to share in the glory, which is making your customers happy with giving them incredible service. So you could certainly be probably a great trainer, making money, still on the road, growing up two or three technicians. You will have to put the hat on where you have to step off the road a little bit, check your metrics, check in with the guys, meet with them, run your books. You're definitely going to have to manage your time a little bit, but don't be stingy with your customers, Andrew. Go
yep.
find Andrew Jr. and or Miss Jr. And get them in front of your customers' houses.
Yeah, and I think and I speak from my own personal experience. I feel like Andrew and I are pretty similar in this. Um, 80% of you is better than 100% of you doing the work.
That's
So
right.
70 or 80% and someone else doing the work is better than you doing 100% of it all the time. And part of that is that perfectionism trap. Like, well, they're never going to be as good as me. Well, you don't know that because I've had people that are way better than me at
Mhm.
things,
That's right.
and I didn't expect them to be. And so if you can find someone who at this point is 70 to 80% of you, do it. Run with it. See what happens, you know? Um,
We're one medical emergency, whether it's short term, long term, or permanent, from not having a business.
yeah.
If all the weight is on your shoulders, I had a technician who just gave his resignation this past week. He was in the military uh, years ago, then worked for Sears, and he had a shoulder injury from his days in the military, and it was aggravated while working for us. So between the VA and how long it's going to take for him to get a scheduled surgery and recovery time, he has no way to have. There's no disability insurance. There's the state's not
Mhm.
offering disability, so he had to resign. And he said, even when it comes back, I'm going to take a different job with less manual labor on my shoulder. You will not be, we're always going to be statically getting worse and worse with our physical and mental health. It's just, we do
Eh,
the best to keep it up, but
and I'm in an extremely physical, and that's why I said this year I realized like I can't be climbing these roofs forever. I need to start training guys up. And they may come in at 50% of what I am,
Mhm.
but it's still better than me having to commit 100%, 120% of my time, right? Like there's
Right.
just not enough hours in a day, not enough days in a week, especially in my industry. It was beautiful last week. It's freaking snowing today. I don't know what
Yeah.
the rest of the week is going to bring, right? There's just not enough hours when we hit a certain point. And
Right.
so getting someone to come alongside you that can take some of that load off, is better than not having anyone, right?
Mhm.
If I can begin to teach someone how to watch a job site, how to pay attention to the details, how to, understand why the install crew is doing something a certain way, then when we go on repairs, they're going to be like, hey, so how does that interact with, you know what I mean? Like you begin to
Yeah.
just open up their mind to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And pretty soon I'm willing to bet they'll surpass you. I'm willing to bet that they will surpass you. I have finally gotten to the
Those
point
are
where,
fighting words, man.
listen, I got sound guys now that it was like, no one can do it better than me. And I listen to some of their mixes and I'm like, whew,
Yeah. No, it's
man,
fun.
I didn't
I'm
hear
telling
that,
you,
right?
it is so much fun to be able to give people opportunities to live up to their potential.
Yep.
That is, you got to be, and maybe you weren't that way at Gordon's, but you've
No.
shared many times the church experience was a way for you to measure the growth that you've had in your lifetime, Zach, where you are, delegating and coaching, and now you're excited about seeing people thriving because
Yep.
you gave them an opportunity.
Yep. And you get to take that experience and you take it to whatever you do for money, right? I go from the volunteer situation to how can I take those same lessons and apply them to
Mhm.
my business where I'm
Right.
actually making money. You take people who are volunteers and you can get them to that level, then when you're taking people who are earning a paycheck,
Mhm.
it's exponential, right? Because
Yes.
they have the potential to earn more income for their family. And so taking those lessons has been such a thing for me, but it started with a mindset shift. And that's why we were talking about this today. Here's the lack mindset, here's the abundance
Mhm.
mindset, and here's why that's important. Hopefully you guys got something out of that today. I know
I'm
Dr.
glad you
Dave,
brought up. I'm glad you brought up the M word mindset,
yeah.
because when you have a mindset that you're locked in on,
Mhm.
it'll help you in the real mode. Like we just gave you the best case scenario, Andrew, that you'll find someone that's better than you. It's going to take 10 over the next 5 years for you to find that. It's not an easy road, but if your mindset is like, damn it, I can't believe it. I just lost this guy from a shoulder injury. Now I have to start again. That mindset is, of course, this is expected, and here's where I'm heading, and I'm still looking for my next Andrew, and just keep on going, right?
Yeah, so we lost 2 great sound guys. We're down to 2 sound guys running stuff and me filling in as a backup when neither of them can come in.
Mhm.
But in that, we're also beginning to train the next generation. We have a
Yeah,
bunch of teens that are ready to
that's
come
fun.
up and learn how to do it. Losing those guys, yeah, that sucks, but it presented an opportunity to do things a different way, to begin to train up that next generation, because we're just getting older. Aging happens, right? And so now we get to bring that next generation behind us to kind of carry the
The
torch.
plumber that I brought up on the Facebook page, the wife made a great picture of him and his big smile, and he's just launching it. He's got a lot of business. Now he's trying to get more. If he doesn't strategically plan time to work on his business,
Yep.
like a BNI group or something like that, if he doesn't make the time, he's going to have a long road of exhaustion and then regret that he didn't start from the very beginning with a strategic plan of, I can't be the same. I can't be the one and the only forever and ever and ever. So how am I going to do this?
Speaking of plumbers, it took 2 years to convince my buddy Joe, who runs a water conditioning company. It took 2 years to convince him to hire a kid. He's like, they're just not as good as me. And he finally hires a kid, and the kid's amazing,
Yeah.
right? He's still 60% of what my buddy Joe is, but he's learning and he's getting better every day. And my buddy's like, why didn't I do this sooner? I'm like, I don't know. I've been trying to convince you for 2 years, right?
2 years isn't bad. So good job, Zach, because people can go 5, 10 years and it's always something, right? It's something. It's the elbow, it's the knee, it's an illness that takes takes a bit of out of you. It's a lot. Anyway, all right. The guilt party's done now.
Well, hopefully we helped you guys today. Hopefully we opened up your minds to some other possibilities, or helped you explore the things where you're lacking today, and can find some improvement in the coming months. If you want to begin to plan for the next year, this Saturday, I am leading Goals to Succeed with, and like we talked about last week, I'm going to put some vision casting in there, because if you don't have a personal and a business vision, all the goals in the world won't change a thing. So we're going to start there, and then we're going to move into some strategic goal planning for the next year ahead. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about making this a weekly and quarterly habit to help you succeed in that even more. If you're not a member, servicealliancegroup.com. These masterminds every single month are free to our all access members. You get to come and sit with other business owners and begin to work on growing your business in whatever way you want, whether it's more technicians, more profitable, whatever it is. We're here to help you grow your business. Servicealliancegroup.com. So, Doug, it's always fun. We talk mindset all the time, but it's always fun when we can kind of expand even our own repertoire of mindset growth. So
have a great week, everybody.
Yeah, get out there, take care of your customers. And if you're in the snow zone like myself and Andrew, stay safe, and we'll see you next time on the Morning Grind. Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Morning Grind podcast by Service Alliance Group. Subscribe to our channel and make sure you visit our website at servicealliancegroup.com for appliance repair business resources.